Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. So at 8:40 p.m., I guess last night, patrol officers were investigating a carjacking that had just taken place in the area of Everson and Growth Street, and ultimately a separate incident happened at that location where officers had to respond and ultimately ended up into an officer-involved shooting. I'm going to let Director Mark Romano give you the information regarding that incident. Mark?
Thank you, Sheriff. So like the Sheriff said, at 8:40 this evening, or last evening, our officers responded to the 1400 block of Everson Street in reference to a carjacking investigation. While they were on scene for approximately an hour, there was some information on, obviously they're meeting with the victim, trying to get information on the vehicle and trying to track that vehicle and locate it with the suspects. The victim was an older individual, female individual, and her family members were on the street around the officers at that time. While they're waiting, trying to get information on the vehicle, try to locate it, an individual who's the suspect in this case approached the family members in the street. He has nothing to do with the carjacking case that the officers were working on. Family members say that this individual started, quote, harassing them. It's somebody that they had seen in the neighborhood recently. He's a black male, adult. Don't know exactly how old he is, but at some point he pulls a knife, and the officers hear the family members say, quote, he's got a knife, and this suspect is engaging with one of the family members, and the officer's able to see a stabbing motion towards one of the family members. Two of our officers approach the suspect. They're able to engage him, and they shoot at him multiple times, striking him, getting him off the person who he was stabbing. Ultimately, he suffered several gunshot wounds. Rescue was called. Our officers tried to do some medical and first aid at the scene, but he died there at the scene, unfortunately. It's important to note that our officer did, as they're trained, handcuff this individual, and while one of the officers was doing the handcuffing, was able to see the knife beside the suspect's body, and notices that it's a butter knife. That's when he notices what kind of knife the suspect is using. So, our cold case unit is on scene. They're the units that do the investigations for officer-involved shootings. Our crime scene unit is on scene. They're doing the processing of the scene. The state attorney's office is on scene, and they're doing their investigation, which is independent of ours. This is our 6th officer-involved shooting for the year, and I can give you the officers' names that are involved. That's Officer J. Montgomery, ID 85553. She has 2 years on. And Officer J.C. Rose, ID 82806. Officer Rose has 5 years on. This is for both officers, their first officer-involved shooting. And I can take some questions if y'all have any.
And just to clarify, you said that the officers had seen the suspect raise the knife, but then did they start stabbing the family members, or just the seeing and the hearing triggered?
Our officer actually thought that the person was stabbed, and actually you'll see on video when we release it within a couple days here, had him take his shirt off because he thought he was stabbed. That's what he believed. He was not. It turned out he was not.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
And no one else was injured in any of these cases of carjacking, just the suspect?
Just the suspect. The vehicle was actually recovered. Nobody else was injured. Officers are fine.
Did the family know this person?
Don't believe so.
Are you able to give us his name?
I don't have that. We don't know who he is.
The suspect related to the carjacking case, is that person still on the loose?
Those suspects were not located, and our deceased suspect is not related to that case.
They're still out. That case is still being worked.
Still under investigation.
Is there anything you guys want to say regarding your officers' swift action, seeing that there might have been stabbing?
I'll say that the way the entire scenario took place was very quick. A lot of confusion, a lot of noise. You could hear someone yelling out, "He's got a knife." Officers saw the stabbing motion. Like Director Romano said, he actually thought that the victim had been stabbed several times because of the motions. It's unfortunate that it worked out the way that it did. You know, you don't want this to happen under any circumstance. But when officers see that kind of thing happen, they have to take action at some point and do what they have to do to try to save lives, and that's what they did in that case. Now, the state attorney is going to investigate the entire scenario, the entire situation. They will make a determination on its justifiable nature or not. We'll just wait for that. But this is just what we're telling you from what we were able to observe in our investigation so far.
How many people were on the scene at the time of the shooting?
A lot. That's all I can tell you. There was quite a few people there.
Do you know how many times the person was shot at?
Several, more than once. I believe Director Romano said that, but more than once.
And both the officers discharged there.
That's correct.
I believe you guys are alluding to this, but I just want to get a clear statement. This guy seemingly had nothing to do with anything that was going on until he walked.
No, like Director Romano said, they were investigating the carjacking. They were speaking to the victim of the carjacking at the time when they heard the commotion from another area close by. They heard knife. They heard what they heard. They went around the corner or just around the vehicle actually and saw the incident taking place. Saw the stabbing motions and all the other, and that's when they took action.
Was the person who was shot from that neighborhood?
Don't know that yet. Like I said, unfortunately, I mean we're not able to determine that. Like I said, this is early in the investigation, and there's a lot that's gonna come out in the future, but we just don't know that yet. All right.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.